In this special series, what we're going to be dealing with is we're going to be dealing about these 4 horses of the apocalypse, as John Gottman called them. We're going to talk about them episode 1 in the special series, and then we're going to go into one episode each for the antidotes to these 4 key traits, and everybody must become aware of these. So welcome into the He Wants, She Wants Marriage podcast. In this episode, we are talking about the 4 traits that will doom your marriage if you don't become aware of them today. This episode is based on the research of the Gottman Institute. They've done 4, if not 5 decades of research on modern day marriages, and they have recognized that there are these 4 key traits that you must become aware of. Before we jump in, we really want to put a friendly warning to every single one of you that there's a major risk in listening into this episode. Most husbands and wives make the unwitting error of minimizing and normalizing where you're at in marriage. Same shit, different day, you're busy in life, and tending to the issue of marriage, there's this tendency to put it to the side and go, hey, well, it's not that bad. I've a lot of other things to deal with. What ends up happening there is the tolerance is raising for these pitfalls and the standards are lowering. Another way of looking at this is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is where when you have a low skill capacity, you don't have formal training in a certain endeavor, and who has formal training in marriage and deep, intimate communicating, etc., we tend to have an exaggerated self-analysis of our own capacity. So we'll be like, no, I've got this nailed. I'm doing infinitely better than you might actually be doing. So in the episode, we're really going to encourage you to bring on what we could look at as a commander in a battlefield. What they do is they go to the high ground. And it's when you're at the high ground, that's where you can see with great objectivity all the things. It's not a case of what's going wrong. It's where are improvements needed. And it's also from the high ground is that you don't minimize and normalize it. Oh, that's not an issue. We're doing fine. You look at that objectively. But you don't go the other side, which is catastrophization. Oh, holy cow, Mark and Matilda told me about these 4 characteristics. I'm doomed. I'm dead. God, it's like, no. You find that sweet spot, which is that battlefield commander that looks on and he or she can see with objectivity. Okay, there's opportunities to grow here. Let's take a simple step forward. In this special series, what we're going to be dealing with is we're going to be dealing about these 4 horses of the apocalypse, as John Gottman called them. We're going to talk about them episode 1 in the special series, and then we're going to go into one episode each for the antidotes to these 4 key traits, and everybody must become aware of these. I'm going to invite my beautiful goddess in to invite people in at home into what these traits are and what are the definitions.
Yes, let's go through the 4 of them straight away. So then we can talk a little bit more about them. So the first one is criticism, and criticism is attacking your partner's character instead of focusing on the behavior. And we'll unpack it in a little bit, but I'm just going to go through them real quick. So defensiveness is the second one, which kind of comes as a response to criticism and is responding to feeling attacked with shifting responsibility and blaming the other person instead of taking responsibility. Contempt is the third one. And it's kind of like a feeling of superiority towards your partner that can get expressed through invalidating comments, sarcasm, passive-aggressive statements that kind of belittle your partner because you actually have this sense of superiority and disdain towards them. And then the fourth one is stonewalling, which is at this point, you're not answering or engaging in the conversation anymore. Stonewalling is about busying yourself doing something else, stop answering, turning away, leaving the space and going quiet. And so you're not engaging anymore. Those are the 4 traits that when present will doom your marriage. And it was very interesting to read this list and go, okay, we've done them all. A lot.
Experts in the art.
Yes. Exactly. So, criticism. Let's look at that.
Please do. Well, remind me and remind us all of the definition of criticism as Gottman is suggesting it.
Is the attacking the person instead of focusing on the behavior.
That is one that I know I camped out there completely until I had any rudimentary awareness of this. I didn't even know what I was doing. I thought I was, I thought I was so right that I didn't pick it up as being anything other than, well, it's just natural that I have to say this to you. But knowing that making a comment about you, God, you're so silly for, that's so immature how you're dealing with the girls. God, I can't believe you're such and hey, in certain moments, we've dealt with a lot of regret and resentment and grief and stuff in the past, but it goes to super high spiked, absolute disrespectful, horrible language, labeling. So there's a whole repertoire there. There has been in my past. If I could go back, I'd redo it, but hey, it was there. There was a lot of criticism and with no practical link to a new behavior being offered forward.
Yeah. I know I've been at the receiving end of it, but I also know I've been camping there myself quite a bit. There's been, I guess, I don't know, I speak for my own self and my family. I came from a family where I don't think they communicate in any other way than criticizing each other. I remember at the beginning of our relationship, even sometimes I would make a statement and you'd get offended, and I'd be like, well, I was actually being nice because, I only told you you're stupid. I could have used way worse language because I was so used to the constant way of communicating in my family was such that I didn't think I was criticizing. So that is actually a trap that we can fall into for sure. It's like thinking you're doing better than what you've witnessed happening in your family, but actually what you're doing is not very nice at all. So I know now, looking back, it was constant criticism coming from me. I don't think I knew how to actually express any bit of something that I wanted to change in you without it coming out as very heavy criticism.
I know with myself, and having lived with your family for a few years, there was that explicit in your face, direct insults that you either habituated to or just you got the hell out. And I habituated to and then got the hell out. My family upbringing, it was implicit. It wasn't really direct. It's obvious when I look back through the guise of all of this work and study and research and deep inner work I've been doing and I'm doing with you. It's so clear looking back. Criticism was all pervasive, but it was more implicit. It was in the sort of the sneaky there was an undertone, there was humor, there was a side comment, there was a comparison, it wasn't a direct, hey, you as a person, you are this, I'm going to label you in a horrible way. And I don't know, it's a fool's errand to compare trauma, but it's equally as damaging because it's so unsafe.
Yeah.
You don't know, nothing direct has been said, but your nervous system just knows this is horrible. The emotional texture of this experience is just horrible at the moment. And there's wanting to withdraw from it. So criticism, and as I say, those pathways came through me. I wasn't direct with you, but my criticisms would do all of those implicit side door, attack you from behind, but never directly in front, apart from when I got super dysregulated.
Oh, and that gave me actually that gave me the moral high ground for such a long time, because I thought at least I'm being straight to your face. And again, it's crazy how we can unpack just one thing, and we're not even going into the full criticism. We're gonna do an episode on it fully, but how like it can have so many shades of gray, so many nuances to it, but ultimately how it comes out is just going to be hurtful for the other person. And what it brings out inevitably when we express through criticism is the second one. It's going to bring out defensiveness, because of course if you're being heavily criticized, you're going to answer with wanting to send the ball of blame back to the other person, like a bit of table tennis.
Yeah, you can't really have one without the other. They really don't exist. There could be some part, there was a part of me in preparations for this. It's like, oh, there was moments when I wasn't defending. I mightn't have been defending verbally, but mentally, I was shifting probably into stonewalling. I was doing the nice guy. I'm not going to back argue, but on the inside, I'm rancid. I'm saying horrible things. I'm defending. I'm not taking ownership, but definitely verbally, that was continually coming through me. Sometimes trying to be the polite, nice guy. Oh, there's been a misinterpretation. You're saying that, but what I really tended. So that one thing that you're saying, I forgot. But like, take a look at the 99 million things that I did in town that were like, look at the good guy I am. And like, to what end? It was corroding unwittingly your trust in me. And that was one thing. Yeah, my defending continually, anytime you tried to give me feedback, my defending, I now see brought out more of the explicit criticism, because you'd be irritated. You couldn't trust me. You couldn't feel safe or supported. So is it criticism that draws the defensiveness, or defensiveness that draws the criticism? They're inextricably linked.
Yes.
I shouldn't bring so many.
Such difficult words.
No, that was way too difficult. They're so intimately linked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the levels of how defensive I could get, and guarded and closed, and ultimately I know I've been labeled actually in my family as, oh, we can't ever give you feedback. And I'm like, well, of course, because you're only criticizing all the time. But that was brought in, and that came into our relationship quite strongly. It's like, if you come to me and actually tell me something, and of course, criticism was how it was being landed most of the time, not always. But the defensiveness then comes up. And as I said earlier, it becomes like table tennis. Ultimately, this, oh, you haven't done that thing. Well, I would have if you hadn't done that other thing. Or, well, and I would have. And we can keep going to the infinite and beyond. Like, we can just keep going with that. And again, these four traits actually kind of build on one another when not addressed. So when we're doing this criticism, defensiveness, ping pong, we're gonna get into contempt, which is, by the studies that the Gottman Institute did, is the one marker for, okay, like, if that's really present in a relationship, the divorce is pretty much inevitable. That's where we're heading, because it's such a heavy thing.
Yeah. That level of disdain, and it's righteous. The superiority is this righteous element. And I could recognize that in myself looking back. I think I would bring in, this is really key. It was wonderful how it just naturally emerged. We have these embarrassing little things that come out nearly every single episode where we're like, oh God. I'm glad for this episode. It's sort of shunting a little bit more Matilda's side. For the Dunning-Kruger effect, where we overestimate our own capacity and we downplay. It was the part on contempt. You were like really saying, and it was actually for both of us. You were like, oh, well, I've read the contempt. I actually think historically we're good with the contempt. We didn't go there at all.
Upon reflection, maybe we did a little bit.
Upon Mark pointing it out to you, going, hold on here a second. Number one, I led with, well, thanks for letting me off the hook on Contempt, but I was a shit show on Contempt down the years with you. Again,
No.
and there was an accuracy in what you were saying, because I did have to, and I really want to bring this distinction in for people at home, because there's this Mr. Nice Guy persona for the guys, and the girl next door, the nice
People
girl.
pleasing, tons
People
of
pleasing, it happens both sides. Where externally, very often people can go, oh, Contempt, God, no, not me. Well, the bit where earlier on I said, hey, I got to own, there was a lot of Contempt happening. It was internally. My mental landscape, my storytelling, the thinking loops that were happening in my head for years were catastrophically bad. And there's this risk of thinking, well, I can drive off to work regularly. I can be walking the dog and bitching about my husband or my wife. I can be, contemptuous of them mentally. But, when he comes home, I give him the smiling face. When I come home from work, I say, hey, honey, how's your day been? That's a real, real warning sign. And that's something that's not spoken to enough in podcasts and in books, is the mental contempt.
Yeah.
Mental contempt, unchecked, unowned, over a long period of time, that's where the risk comes. Or one day you just reach a point where that's it, enough, I'm done. And your partner's like, WTF? Where the fly in hell did that come from?
Oh yeah, the mental one I've done plenty, I know. Yeah. I spent hours camping out in my little journeys in my head as to all the different things that you were doing wrong and how much better I was. Yeah.
Of course you did, but you did quite a bit of the verbal stuff as well.
Of course, yeah. I did.
It's a really cool learning that we had earlier on, because your nervous system was really going, no, and you're exceptionally skilled and in this deep work of owning. Your nervous system is not afraid of owning. You're actually feeling the really empowered nature of that from the deep shadow work you're doing. So if it was possible in your nervous system with the training that you've had and the practice that you have to go, no, I can't see any part of that. It definitely, if we rewind to a few years ago, if I go back to 5-6 years ago, my version, it was all minimizing and normalizing.
Yeah.
So it's a real danger sign. We're bringing a lot of humor to it, but I really hope that the people at home listening in can really the encouragement is to turn up the volume of your awareness of that bloodhound inside that really wants to find the information that is objective and real, to have that bloodhound on the job.
Yeah, and it's not a competition, because I guess that's where it can go. You can listen to this and either take it all upon yourself. Oh my God, I'm doing a heap of criticism, and I mean that's not a bad thing to do, because starting by having your own awareness of the behaviors and taking responsibility, I mean that's a pretty good starting point. But you don't want to heap it all on yourself, because these things are actually created one with the other. So if you're very defensive, there's a chance that there's some kind of criticism coming your way. If you're brought to criticize, or if you're criticizing a lot, there is a chance that the other side isn't really taking responsibility all that much. So it's a game that we play together. We're in marriage, and that's what happens. And the other side, another risk is to be sitting here listening to this and actually go, well, they do that. My partner constantly do this, that, the other. I'm such a, I'm such a saint. If that's what you're thinking, there might be a need to just take a moment and pause, eat a little bit of humble pie, which I've eaten a lot of.
Find a crystal clear mirror.
Yeah.
And stare into it until you get the point.
Because it's about turning around your marriage. That's what it is about. And going back to connection. So, okay, the fourth one. My favorite. Stonewalling.
Oh, stonewalling. Can I do a shadow embodiment practice of what stonewalling is for me?
Yes, I'm afraid I'm going to go
For those of
into-
you that, well, the video podcast is out there. Maybe if you're listening in, you can't get it. But this is my stonewalling. And if you see me embodying it and then Matilda going into probably technically a freeze or potentially a rage, have the mind. Looking at the ceiling
Yes.
in bedroom, because normally when I was completely avoiding Mr. Nice Guy, I avoided with such insistence all meaningful conversations that the only conversations we were having were 12 at night, and Matilda would roll on the bed on the pillow and go, I need to talk. I mean, that phrase sends a shiver down my spine. But anyway, what would normally happen 20 to 30 minutes after that conversation began is this: Mark,
Staring at the ceiling.
staring at the ceiling, you do the commentary, I'm away from Mike. And the doom sign for my stonewalling was when my hand went up.
Going to the forehead. Yes, I can feel it, like my stomach actually tightening up. I need to breathe.
I'm laughing
Literally.
now, but I could camp out in stonewalling, man, for
Till 4 in the morning.
till 4 in the morning. I could just be there.
Yeah.
And I now know technically it was because my nervous system reached a point of overwhelm.
Mhm.
We're going to be talking about that in the antidote. But here, from a trait that can destroy your marriage, I believe it was that trait. I hadn't spoken this with you before, but I believe it was that trait in my part in marriage. Because stonewalling, I think Gottman has said that something like 80 to 90% of stonewalling, it's the husband that does it. Because we don't know, we think it's like an absolute shameful thing as a man to experience emotions and to be brought to an intimate moment where your queen is dragging you in, wanting, probably for years, if not decades sometimes, for into me, you see, let me in. It's like, no, I'm not. That knocks so many husbands into overwhelm that stonewalling happens. But I believe that stonewalling, that trait in me, was so regularly present in all of those conversations that I believe that's the trait that knocked you and your nervous system into this point of hopelessness where the argument ceased to be. And I was there for a couple of years going, oh, we're actually finally getting on.
Yeah.
I was thinking, we're not perfect, but things are going good. Again, I had minimized and normalized my stonewalling, but I believe my stonewalling was the point where some part of you just went, what's the fucking point? Does that hit home?
It does. It does. It does. Because it wasn't even just going on. There was the explicit moment, I believe, in the likes of a challenging conversation, but then it went into days of very shallow interactions. So you couldn't maybe classify it as pure stonewalling because you're responding, but not on those topics. We're retreating to, well, okay, we're talking about dinner, we're talking about the dogs, but we're not touching, because the minute we touch that topic, the hand goes back up to the forehead. and that's it. So yeah, I would say that's actually, I'm like kind of taking it in, like, thank you for sharing that, because this is happening live. We haven't exactly planned for this, but yeah, I do believe that that's an element of it.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting?
We'll say the non-judgmental, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And literally that happening live, that is the juice of this practice. And that is why we are putting such relentless willingness in getting people, they're listening in, to invite your partners in on this. Because when you can get to this level of going, isn't that interesting? We're not criticizing. There's no defense. The stonewalling is there, but there's two human experiences happening, two hearts, two souls, and there's a coming together going, well, what if we just got curious? What if we just started sharing what's happening without the risk of criticism, without the default defensiveness, without the, just this constantly taking it personal, and to shift into that, well, isn't that interesting? That spontaneously come up. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
And that was a revelation for me, what's just after happening with you, which is my nervous system, and I believe all our nervous systems in some way, shape, or form, we were conditioned to fear sharing what was happening in our human experience. The revelation for me was when I allowed myself have the permission to be human and took a chance in the beginning. You can build trust two ways. You can wait for it to show up by itself spontaneously, and that rarely happens. Or you can take a chance. When I started taking a chance and going, hey, into me you see, well, here, take a look in. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm experiencing now. The revelatory insight I had was, wow, you softened. And there's a wonderful thing that happens, that when you can just as a couple go over that, one goes over that, and then the other comes, and it doesn't matter who leads first, and then now you just sort of have these mini steps that are happening, these openings. Yeah, it's a beautiful process.
It is. It is. Stonewalling I did a lot too. And it's interesting because for me, I always pointed the finger at you on this, like you were the stonewaller. But I do know now, looking back, I would justify that by I'm just too angry to speak. Because you've made me that angry that at this point, if I'm speaking, I'm going to say bad things. But I wouldn't own that. I would just busy myself, shut down. We'd be maybe outside doing the stables. I just start doing them really energetically and ignore you. That's stonewalling too. So that's again to see there's different aspects to these things. That's why we're going to do an episode for each one of them, because there are different shades and it's very easy to get caught into, oh, but I don't do it that way, so I'm fine. I'm not doing that. Or like I felt about contempt. I hadn't done contempt at all. So that's why we're going to go into the episodes, like into this series, into each one of them.
Yeah. I can't wait for that. We've mentioned it, but just before coming into landing formally, it's a reminder, and it's going with the minimizing and the normalizing and the Dunning-Kruger effect, etc., but it's the truth trap. The truth trap is the sneakiest, the sneakiest sniper that will take down any part of you that wants to improve your marriage, because you can listen into all of these, but all of these are justifiable rationally by a feeling of you're right and your partner's wrong. As Matilda was like, it's the criticism. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just fucking telling you what's true. Stop being defensive. Or I'm not defending. I'm just not taking any more of your bullshit. This isn't defense. This is just common sense.
Yeah.
Every single one. Contempt. Like, I've been in moments, I've said this to guys that were, I've coaching one-on-one and in men's circles, etc., where I'm like, they sort of had this idea that, oh, I had this perfect marriage. And I was like, hey, well, it's perfect, but many moments a part of my mind goes to such a contempt, goes to such a righteous, that if I went with that part of my mind, I could drop kick you, leave the girls, pack up my bags and storm off, walking to the sunset with my wallet, my laptop, my passport. Is like just going.
Okay, it's good to know that you have a plan. So I know what I need to hide. Hide the wallet, hide the passport. So, okay.
They're the thing. So,
yeah.
Righteousness, and that can seem like an extreme level. But again, righteousness, in our ego, which is the core of our persona, it's so sneaky.
Yeah.
Because it can listen to all of this and go, but I'm so right that I'm going to minimize and normalize that, and I'm not going to call it contempt. It's this other thing because I'm right. It's not defensiveness. It's not criticism. I don't stonewall. I'm just not taking shit anymore. And it's constantly placing the responsibility to the other person. It's a passionate, plea to people at home to mind that sneaky bugger. and breathe into it. And if you see any resonance of any details of your married life experience showing up, like what we have been talking about, really take it sincerely upon yourself to be the partner that goes, okay, we can't ignore this anymore.
Now, the good news is that
Good news.
the study has been, still from the Gottman Institute, looked at the ratio of good events in your marriage versus the bad, let's call them bad ones. So an event of contempt, an event of conflict with criticism and defensiveness and all of that. And so they found that there's a ratio of 5-1. If you can have 5 good events and then one that isn't good, you're still on track. Like, you're still doing good enough, and you're still gonna be able to to make it without having to go through a breakup. Now, again, this can be hard to be objective on when you're in the marriage, because you can feel really entitled to be criticizing. You can feel really entitled to be defensive. You can feel entitled to a lot of things. So it kind of, we would invite very strongly to listen to the next 4 episodes on these topics, because what we're gonna offer is not only the antidote, but literally how you can turn these around into positive events. You can transform. So, okay, you have a history, like we've had, a history of a lot of criticism and defensiveness, a history of strong contempt and tons of stonewalling, but you can turn it around, literally become aware of those 4, and with what we're going to offer in the next 4 episodes, go, okay, I'm going to do this instead, which is still going to get your points across, which is going to bring the transformation in your marriage, because criticizing and contempt and stonewalling, that doesn't bring transformation, that brings disconnection. So that's what we're going to bring in the next 4 episodes. That is going to help. If that ratio isn't really there, it's going to help bringing it up, bringing it there. And it's also going to help bring in objectivity to the awareness of these behaviors.
Yeah, I'd be as bold to go as far and say, if you're listening in to a marriage podcast, you can't afford to miss out in the next 4 episodes. You really can't. You don't have to be in the depths of despair in marriage. If you're listening in because I just want to improve, hey, these are the 4 highest leverage places you can improve. And if you're anywhere below that in a level, non-judgmentally, but from that, like a non-judgmental acceptance of, hey, this is where we're at. Commander, looking down from the high ground going, yeah, there's some of that stuff going on. You can't afford to let this go. It's going to be so fantastically effective, the tools and strategies and the approaches that we're going to be teaching you guys, because it's worked for us.
Yep.
Can't wait. I really love this special series. You're the mastermind behind it all. I'm loving it. So coming into landing, guys, really powerfully, we are practicing what we have said in previous episodes is the relentless willingness. The impossible becomes possible with that power. And we are practicing that with you and for your marriage, with the relentless willingness to have the call to action to you, to share this episode and many episodes with your partner. You share it once, upset, fear rejection, we get it. Share it twice, share it 3 times. There's a Japanese saying which is said, fall 7, rise 8. Share 7 times, partner goes, don't like that. They stonewall you. Well, share it an 8th time, and at some point they come into the conversation. It's the relentless willingness is the miraculous force that can just transform your entire marriage for the better. But have sharing this episode and these episodes consistently with your partner being your embodiment of that. With that, this has been absolutely awesome. Thank you, baby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody at home, thank you for listening in. And between this episode and the next, go dare to get what you want in marriage.
Bye.
Bye, guys.